So to just raise, yeah, so just point it out when there's a question virtually. Yeah.
And this would be your mic. If you guys have something to say, just ask the next person. This is the one mic. Sorry for that.
Sure.
I think we're just waiting for C's. She'll be back.
Okay.
Have a good session.
So Brian's not, so the three of you. Yeah. I'll show you when you got 5 minutes left. When you got 2 minutes left. Each part.
Right.
Okay. Then I'll get through all those sections.
Oh, yeah, we might need it. If you look, he doesn't.
Yeah.
Oh, man, that's actually good forward to the session. That's what I call them. It's only 60th like sadness is so that's my understanding, yeah. But we're gonna find out. Probably, yes. We talk. Yeah, we're all. It's more feel like I have you. Do you this is like all the. Hey. Welcome to my session.
Everybody's.
I have very good reasons.
No.
Look at that.
When you're ready.
It's all started.
How did I should be like, oh, sorry that I ghosted essentially. And then it was like, oh, so we're doing that.
Okay, good. Thank you.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, guys, unfortunately, we only have I told them because I'm starting to give me, but we can then change it.
I think keep it on you and then the rest is just use mine.
It's okay. I mean, I also don't have a. Actually, yeah. Let's maybe. Yeah. Are we on time?
How to actually
Oh, yeah. It's gonna be.
I think there's going to be a certain free form element.
Yeah,
It should be fun.
Let me turn myself on. 1, 2, 3. Wow, that's a packed room. Thanks everybody for coming. Yeah, you guys can use the chairs, I guess, and we can switch. All right, everybody. We're just getting started on the workshop for today, the second part of DKGCon. Thanks everybody for coming. Oh, clicker, thank you. That's pretty useful. As you might see, we have we just said all-star lineup of folks who are going to be presenting all kinds of cool things today. The topic will be AI agents with reusable data products and the decentralized knowledge graph. If you haven't heard about any of these terms before, don't worry, you'll be learning about them in the workshop. So this workshop is intended to be introducing these concepts, why they matter now, by the people who are, in my view, the best experts in the field in the world, and I'm super happy to be together with them here. So I'll use the opportunity to introduce them. From all the way to my right is Ben Clinch from Ortecha. Perhaps, Ben, you can say a few words.
Wonderful. So proud to be here with these illustrious folk. I'm a partner at Ortecha. We specialize in helping organizations benefit greater from their data and reduce the risk associated with that data.
Hi, I'm Tony Seale. Some of you may know me from LinkedIn as the knowledge graph guy, although I'm one amongst many here at this conference. Yeah, I've been doing knowledge graphs now for the last 10 years or so, and along with a bunch of colleagues and collaborators, we've created the DPROD specification, which we've launched. And, some of the people in the room actually peeped there and shout out to Pete.
Hi, I'm Charles Ivie. I am a knowledge graph guy too, not the knowledge graph guy. Who could be that apart from Tony? But yeah, I work for Amazon Neptune, and we've got all your graph needs covered, so don't worry about that.
I got the mic, so you can keep that one. We have 2 mics, and we're going to do some interesting sharing. Yeah, and last but not least, I'm Branimir. I'm one of the founders behind OriginTrail and CTO. OriginTrail is an ecosystem that's building an open source decentralized knowledge graph. It's been running for quite a few years now, and I'll share a bit more of that history. And again, super happy to be with you guys here. I have a couple of, let's say, mini announcements to make. This is the first time ever we're doing this workshop. It's probably not the best time we're doing this workshop, but expect chaos, but hopefully everything is gonna make sense in some way. And then there will be an opportunity for you to tune in. So if you have your laptop, there's nothing really you need outside of internet connection, and we'll share everything along the way. You'll be able to try and follow along. One more piece of a technical announcement. So we'll be doing this until 12:30, and this is practical workshop with the title you see here. But also there will be another session as part of our track at the KGC, which is happening outside of this event at Microsoft tonight at 5. So in case you're interested in joining us at Microsoft Meetup, we'll also be talking this plus MCP. And there will be a couple of folks from Microsoft also speaking there. So if anybody's invited, yeah, please go ahead.
Registration for that is closed?
Yes, but is it still possible to add somebody if they really ask nicely? There's the Emma, our business development lead, is the person to impress to get into the Microsoft. So if you impress her, It will work. Awesome. All right. So without further ado, we probably planned too much for this workshop. There's plenty of things to talk about and show and try. So I'm just gonna try and run and storm through it. Of course, that doesn't mean you don't have room to ask any questions or anything. And do let us know if we're maybe too quick. So if you're not able to follow along and we're just going a little bit crazy, then let us know. It's the first time, so bear with us, please. All right. So the agenda is as follows. We'll do a very quick intro on what the Internet of Agents and data products are about. Then we'll dive into the data products and the concepts of data fabric and decentralized knowledge graph a bit more. Very practically then going into session 3, which is how we will use data products and we will add more data to them and use them with agents. And finally, we'll hopefully have some time for Q&A. During the presentation, you might be seeing this QR code. There's a bunch of links there that might be useful. We thought both from our contacts, but also useful for the workshop. And so feel free to scan it. I hope it's on most of the slides. If not, we're also here afterwards. So feel free to just bug us. So to set the stage, we already had a bunch of talks. For those of you who were here before this session, you've seen a great presentation from Chris Pease from MIT talking about the Internet of Agents in a decentralized manner. Also from Humanitech, from Dr. Bob Metcalf as well, the founder of Ethernet and Turing Award-winner. Pretty much we're all talking about this, that autonomous agents are the next wave of Internet users. It's also becoming obvious by research. So the research on the market shows an obvious growth up and to the right, as you can see here. And I'm pretty sure I'm preaching to the choir, but we believe it's important to set the stage that this is going to be the next wave of technology, and we really should be both building agents and building for agents, which is the highlight basically of today's workshop. And when we say agents, the red thread throughout this session this morning has been a combination of really the new exciting creative generative AI and what we here all subscribe to as knowledge graph guys and girls, the symbolic AI, the fact side of it. And we see it as a vision of a trusted collective Internet of AI agents, collective because we don't want a central entity, whatever company that is running all these agents for us. Rather, we want to have an empowered network of agents that different people can own, including owning their data, and then use this combination of the left and right brain, the creative side of Gen AI and the really factual side of what we know as knowledge graphs, which can be, really synergize really well. So knowledge graphs are not that creative when you look at it, but they're great at structuring and contextualizing information, logical reasoning, inferencing based on rules rather than guesswork. But sometimes you need a bit of guesswork. So that's why Gen AI is obviously going all the rage and is being very useful. And in this intersection, we believe the vision of an Internet of Agents will thrive in a collective way. The word trusted is not there for no reason. We'll also talk about that today. What we see as the issues that were also discussed in the previous couple of sessions. If you were here, you might have heard about issues like deepfakes, issues of having the ability to even trust information, us getting used to interacting with it. Who here uses ChatGPT instead of Google lately, by a show of hands? So plenty of hands. And it will be growing for sure. And yeah, it just kind of does all the retrieval and everything under the hood and gives you something, and then you kind of hope it's good. Still useful, not that it stops us from using it, but we should be really careful if we should trust that information. Having that said, it's a growing problem, and that growing problem is something we believe needs to be tackled also through technology, not just good manners. As one of our advisors put it very nicely, that there's the problem with trust comes from two sources. One is bad character, and the other one is bad data. And today we can talk about bad data and how we can tackle it. That's a solvable thing. Bad character is not a solvable thing, unfortunately. So, but with good technology, we can do so. All right. This is essentially the path to that vision that we've been taking with OriginTrail. So we started in 2016. with really building centralized closed source knowledge graph based solutions, and very quickly discovered that we should not be the owners of the data and the brokers of that data. As soon as we started in supply chains, as soon as we started scaling bigger supply chains, immediately there was a question, why would you host that data, especially you, a small startup from Eastern Europe who has this Russian accent? Should I trust you? Valid question. Anyways, so yeah, it was like, for us, it was clear, well, we should not be doing, I don't even want to touch your data. I want to obviously empower you to do what you need to do, and that's where the idea of the decentralized knowledge graph came about. So it's a knowledge graph, but it sits on many nodes, and all of these nodes are actually not distributed. A lot of people say distributed instead of decentralized. We really try to emphasize the difference. Distributed in our world, at least in our worldview, means you have a bunch of something, nodes. They are distributed maybe geographically, but not necessarily in an administrative way. Normally, when you have a distributed system, something that's highly available, you usually have one administrator, therefore a centralized point of control. We had to design around that, so the decentralized knowledge graph of OriginTrail is, there's no central point of control. Actually, the nodes in the network, each one of them is owned by its own owner or node operator, and they govern it the way they want. They can pick whatever graph database they want to use. So for example, since recently, they can use Amazon Neptune, which is really cool, but also other ones like GraphDB and pretty much anything that's RDF supported. But not going too deep into the details, it launched 2018 as the first mainnet version 1, obviously limited scale. A lot of this decentralized technology still has limits in scale, and it was very SaaS focused. So we did a lot of enterprise projects together with major retailers such as Walmart, Target, Home Depot, Swiss Railways. And somewhere along 2022, DKG it fit like a glove to a bunch of the use cases that our partners were looking for in terms of AI. So for example, Swiss Railways was trying to make sense out of all their data in a way that they can do predictive maintenance for their tracks and trains. So they were specifically looking for which wheels should they go inspect. There's a ton of wheels in their network based on the data they're getting, and it ended up being a very interesting Sparkle query that was something that any person could ask through basically a chatbot. So natural language question, and we'll see that today. Natural language question, we understand, this is what you're actually trying to do. Sparkle query, and then we're in the realm of non-hallucinations, right? Moving on, we just recently launched version 8 of OriginTrail, which is actually 100K times more scalable than when we started. And now we're in the realm of agents. So the DKG is about driving reliable agents operating on factual knowledge at the convergence with the neural AI and as well as blockchain. We'll see today how blockchain plays a role, and it's not monkey pictures, I promise. It's actually something much more useful and quite simple when you look at it, but it's very incredibly powerful. I do also have a small micro announcement to make here, which we will share after the workshop. There is also going to be, so this is a decentralized ecosystem. This is not us as a company pushing everything through. Rather, anybody can join, anybody can run a node in the network, anybody can build with the technology, contribute code, but also contribute their research. So there will be a call for papers for researchers and companies really alike, or anybody who is interested in this area or who is already doing something in this area to apply and submit their papers for actually a couple of different opportunities, one of which is to get a reward. There will be a prize pool of 100,000 tokens for the best papers and best research and applicable research, I might say, because the idea here is that we get to something that can be integrated and used. As well as an opportunity to speak at the DKG Con in Amsterdam, which is happening in October this year. Yeah, it's going to be very exciting. So we'll share a link afterwards so you can tune in and basically follow up on that call for papers. All right. Now moving back to agents. 3 things are very necessary when you have an agent that you want to run properly. Number 1, you need memory. So you need a way for the agent to record its experiences. And I deliberately say experiences because recently I read a great paper from the guys from Google DeepMind. They called it the age of experience. And they're basically stating TLDR that instead of training LLMs like we do today by stuffing terabytes of data and then like in their brain and then we infer afterwards, but like we have a cut-off date, that agents will actually be, first of all, running out of data to train on. There's only so much human data. And then the second thing is that actually the way humans learn is we learn through experience. We learn how to walk through experience. We learn how to talk through experience. So why shouldn't agents do the same? And essentially their thesis is that agents will be going around the real world, interacting with things, and they will be learning, trying, making errors, improving just the same as we do, and therefore generating this data, but it will be a continuous process. And therefore they need memory. It's very simple. And for that memory, obviously, I'm pretty sure that everybody here in this room thinks that, of course, knowledge graphs are the best type of memory. So yes, that's true. And apart from memory, the AI models, obviously, second part. So a bunch of different generative/neural models in the spectrum. I'm sure we're also excited about them, not just knowledge graphs, and ultimately a bunch of systems. So there will be something to interact with, either another agent or an enterprise system, whatever that is, or potentially a data product, which we will talk about today. So mostly what we'll dive into today is the memory part, and we'll also show how that works from the perspective of the experience of these fine gentlemen here who have much more than me experience in the enterprise world and handling huge amounts of data at scale. Having that said, I think I have one more slide and then it's somebody from the lineup. But yeah, so for reliable memory and really reliable systems, therefore, we need three things. We need formal semantics, obviously. I'm again preaching to the choir here. But for those of you who might not have a good idea why knowledge graphs are great, this is one of the reasons. They have rich contextual data models, which basically enables really powerful retrieval. And as Tony said brilliantly the other day, retrieval is reasoning. So in a way that immediately goes into the direction that is kind of now overtaken by LLMs. Everybody talks about them reasoning, but also data provenance and data ownership. The provenance, as mentioned in the previous talks today, crucially important. I don't remember who said it, but I heard a quote also the other day that data without provenance is just speculation. And it resonated quite well with me. So we need to know where the data comes from, what's the source, what's the origin, and then ultimately data ownership. We don't want a world where we again have a couple of big companies take over all of the valuable data and squish them in and use them without any sort of regard of ownership and privacy. So these three things are going to be seen throughout the workshop today. And hopefully we paint a good picture of how you can use them as well in your organization or product. Having that said, we're moving on to Ben, and I will let the mic to you and shut up.
Thank you, Bram. That's fantastic. So the workshop that we're going to do, we're going to be building data products as part of effectively a mini data mesh. And it's going to be, it's very much utilizing the concepts behind data fabric and data mesh. So we thought it would be helpful just to be able to cover that first. Some of these terms have been a little hijacked by marketing departments for vendors, and rightly so, because they're powerful concepts. But when you ask a vendor specifically, you know, what's a data fabric, and they'll go, it's our system. Our system does that. We've defined it, and of course, it's not a great definition, as we know. And we're in the business of definitions at this conference, of course. So we looked at Gartner, and Gartner actually has sort of tightened its definition since I first started looking at data fabric. But initially, they sort of said, well, it's got a knowledge graph, and it's got active metadata. And again, that's sort of like saying Ben has a head and legs, but so does a horse. It's not a great definition. So we thought we'd come up with something a bit better. And we've tested this history, and a lot of people have agreed with it. I think it's an interesting, obviously, consensus, perhaps. Data fabric is smart, automated data management at scale. At Ortecha, we're in the business of helping organizations with their data management. And one of the things that's really notable is when you're dealing with data in small amounts, you can actually throw a lot of bodies at things and still sort of get a reasonable result. When you're operating at scale, you have to really use that active metadata. You need to understand the context of the data, and you need to apply business rules, preferably machine-readable business rules, to be able to effect controls upon that data. And so from our perspective, knowledge graph is the perfect way of organizing your catalog of information, your ontologies, of course, and semantics to be able to apply that metadata. Great. So then if we look at data mesh, as I'm sure we're all aware, was the phrase is attributed to Zermatt while her time at ThoughtWorks. I think it's a really useful concept. And actually, of course, you combine these two and really you genuinely are describing the decentralized knowledge graph, which is why obviously we're focusing on this. The data mesh are reusable data products. They're federated ownership, and they're treated with looking at reusable data products as truly a product in itself. Why we get excited about this is because you can actually leverage, for example, in a large enterprise, the specific departments that create that data and help empower them to create that as a valuable commodity within the organization and share that freely. The idea being that these are curated, well understood in terms of ownership and provenance, and most importantly, that they're interoperable. Because if they're not interoperable, you've just created a whole bunch of silos under another name. And of course, there is a particular standard that we talk about a lot at the Knowledge Graph Conference that helps interoperability, of course. So we think it's a really powerful concept, but it can be misused. And so many organizations don't organize their products in a way that are truly reusable or federated or treated as products themselves. So we have, Tony's going to be talking us through DPROD as well, which its entire aim is to ensure greater interoperability. So we're really excited about this. But when we realized, that this was a great opportunity, and I think it was Colin Gibson, Peter Jackson and I were presenting at a conference, and we said, well, to be able to do this properly, we're going to need to ensure that's it. Thank you. I should have picked that up earlier. You wrap the data fabric, we said, around the data mesh to avoid a data mess. And we thought that was quite catchy. We've heard it quite a few times since. I think Colin Gibson probably deserves most of the attribution, because I was going to say data mush, but it wasn't as catchy. So the idea really is that the data fabric is underpinned by an information model, and to sell it to laymen, perhaps, but in fact, of course, that is a knowledge graph, and that you can apply data handling rules and standards to be able to wrap that around the data mesh itself, and preferably with some form of semantic discovery to be able to understand the nature of the data as well. So that's just a sort of a bit of a background to data fabric and data mesh to be able to sort of tee you up for the workshop that's coming. And here is an example of a real data mesh.
Yeah, so I hope you can hear me. Then 1, 2, 3. Okay, sounds like it works. Okay. Yeah, so this is the example. I hope it's visible. It's a bit dark, of the implementation I mentioned with Swiss Railways. So they've been our partners for 5 years now, 6. I don't remember actually. COVID sort of messed my timeline entirely. I'm not sure if anybody has the same problem, but essentially what you see here is a network of nodes in the DKG run by different organizations, including Swiss Railways and their different entities. And what they do is they exchange railway data. In their case, this is obviously RDF structured, but follows a specific GS1 standard called EPCIS. GS1 is, if you haven't heard of GS1, they're basically behind the standards of all kinds of supply chain standards, but the most popular one being the barcode. So, they're basically very much kind of the language of business in terms of supply chains. So for them, what we've done is an ability for these nodes in the network to basically exchange a bunch of information. They didn't have to do point-to-point integrations, which was a huge thing for them. They didn't have to be like, I integrated your API and then this other person, and then there's like a mess of one-to-one things. They just sort of use these nodes as modems and plugged into the network, and then they plug in their data source on the other side, basically a data mesh. Which makes it cool because you don't have to unify everybody. You don't have to be the owner of all of the data. You can have Amazon Neptune in one of the nodes, and you can have GravDB in another node, and everybody's happy. Basically no central database. So effectively, there's an entire webinar on this, by the way, so I wouldn't take much more time on this. You can see a lot more in action, including them speaking about what kind of problems they solve. But this is very much possible today. And we'll actually show a small data mesh of 3 nodes today. That's what we'll be using at the workshop. But yeah, in case you're interested, I know there's not a QR code, so it's not that convenient, but if you're interested, I can also share the link later. We might be adding the QR code as we go into the link tree. All right, moving on to data products.
Thanks, Bran. So yeah, we've been talking about decentralization, and we've been talking about data products. So it's quite interesting how the same problems have lurked around for a long time, and then we just kind of create new terms in order to talk about them. But data products, I think, is definitely something new, and it's a very useful movement that's going on because it accepts and summarizes the importance about decentralization and about treating your data as a product. But the thing is that really what it all comes back down to is the problem of decentralized data integration. And that is a hard problem. But there's one community which has been thinking about decentralized data integration for many, many years now. That's our community. It's the semantic web community. So when data products began to rise up, then my initial reaction was, this is fantastic. This is what we've been talking about for a long time. And now, there's a galvanized movement behind it. But the secondary reaction is, let's not reinvent the wheel here. Let's reuse the technology that we've got and we'll apply that to data products. And that's where DPROD was birthed out of. It's a ontology for describing what a data product is. So it's using W3C standards, it's backed and standardized by the Object Management Group, OMG, such a funny name, OMG, a standard. It's also supported by the EDM Council. So, it's a proper standard here. And essentially, if you think about decentralized integration, then what you need to do is you need a way of doing decentralized identifiers. And in the semantic web for decentralized identification, we use the URL, or we call it URIs, but actually if we want to do resolution, then you could think of it as a URL. So within DPROD, we're going to give each data product its own URL. So that means that you can go there and find that data product, you can resolve it over HTTP, and we can link data products together. And the other thing that you need to do if you're going to do decentralized integration is you need to be able to share standard terms. So we're going to use, for sharing standard terms, we're going to use ontology, and well, the decap point is a very important point. So, and I'll come to that shortly, because one of the principles about sharing standard terms is reuse. So, when we were setting out to do DPROD, our first instinct was, well, there is already a very good standard out there for doing data integration, which is DCAT. So we're going to build upon that. So this is a practical workshop, and things start getting practical now. So you need to pay a little bit of attention here. So this diagram represents how DPROD is interacting with DCAT. So it's introduced this concept of a data product. So we've got a definition of a data product. And in data products, we have input and output ports. So in DCAT, there's, I think, quite a poorly named class called a data service. But the data service essentially represents something which is going to be serving up information. So what we've done in DPROD is we've mapped the input and output ports to a data service. A data service then is associated with the distribution. So the distribution will be like, here's my JSON, here's my CSV, here's my database table. So the data service, that's like, here's my HTTP endpoint, here's my URL, here's my connection string to my database. The distribution, that's the physical format that's going on here. And you would, this is the point where for the data modelers amongst you, you'd be talking about your kind of physical model, and you can hang that off. And then a distribution relates to a DCAT data set. So this is important. You can kind of think of data products swimming and exchanging in exchanging data sets between themselves. They're swimming in a sea of these data sets, but they're exchanging them in. So that on the input port, you will be importing data sets into you. On your output port, you're making data sets available. And there's a very important property there, which is conforms to, which is just specified in DCAT. And at that point, you can connect the data set to classes in your ontology that represent what this data set is about. Okay, dropping down to the next level of technicality, so bear with me here. What you're looking at here is a format called JSON-LD. So it's widely used out on the web, and it is actually linked data, but made in a more kind of developer-friendly, mainstream developer-friendly format. So what we're imagining here is that we've got a database of bonds, and that's got like an API over it. And what we're going to ask the person to do in a decentralized manner is register within some kind of data catalog or marketplace their entry for to advertise, like a shop window. I have this data available. I have this data product available. And they do that by conforming to the DPROD schema. So right at the top there, you can see the context, which is pointing you to the shared specification. So that's how we share terms here. So basically, this context points to, in this case, where DPROD itself is hosted, and that is going to be the sharing the terms. Then we've got the identification piece. So you've got that ID there, and that's the unique URI or URL that this data product would live at. Going down there, I won't go into all of the details of the different ones, but you can see as you kind of work yourself through here how you can put your data product owners, and they also will be URIs. And then as we kind of work, you've got the output port there, which you can see is declared as a type of data service. And then from the data service, you go to the distribution, which in this case is basically saying that we're using JSON. And again, notice how we're using URL identifiers there. So if you kind of took that and chuck that into a web browser, that's going to resolve back and give you the definition of what JSON is. Or we could be saying this is CSV. These are publicly shared types that are out there on the web. Finally, we get to our data set, which also has a unique URI. And that then conforms to, and in this case, we're saying it conforms to a definition of a callable bond in the Fiber ontology. So, Brand, do you want to run this, or I can run it? I don't.
Sure, yeah, maybe we can. I'm not sure if am I legible. Test 1, 2, 3. Okay. Yeah. So maybe we can do it together.
Yeah, let's do that.
So this ties into the workshop today. So we'll actually be using. There will be 3 data products in the workshop, and maybe it's time for us, since we're here and it's all talking about cars and so forth, to introduce the example. So we'll be fictional car traders today. And essentially there will be a data set or 3 data products containing information about used cars. There will be a New York auto shop, as you can see in the title, it's a data product and offers New York's best and most affordable used cars.
Don't know why I'm the data product owner for that one.
Yeah, for anything that doesn't work okay.
Yeah, it should be Tony's used cars. Yeah.
Tony's used cars, yeah. And essentially, yeah, this is an example where you can see that in this particular case, one of the endpoint URLs is actually the query endpoint on the one of the OriginTrail node, Cosmo 1, which you'll be joining in as well if you're participating in the workshop. And as well as some information about the data set with references, a link to graph.build, which essentially is going to be used to create that data set, and we'll hear more about as well. But yeah, perhaps Tony, you want to maybe add a bit more?
No, I think you've done a great job there, but I'm just going to re-emphasize the points that we've got a unique URI there, which is where you would go and resolve this data product itself. So I could go back and resolve the data product itself, and it's going to go to OriginTrail at that point. So when it's at OriginTrail, or it could be any. Okay, it's OriginTrail here, but I could have various different providers. Because we're conforming to this DPROD specification, they're all on the network that is the web, basically. And then likewise, when we're coming back to the ontology, that's in graph.build there. Well, actually, graph.build is doing a conforms to, which is then the vehicle which we're using with schema.org. So, you know, this is how we are kind of connecting the data product then to the semantic definition and the ontology of what that's about. I think who's next up? It's you, Charlie.
Yeah, there's the graph build slide with a lot of stuff on it.
I think, actually, I might move on.
Yeah, we missed that one.
Oh, wrong way, wrong way.
Yeah, it's in reverse.
Is it? Okay.
Me, I don't know how to use a remote control. Luckily, I know how to do graph stuff. So, thank you. So just a quick word on Amazon Neptune. I'm sure many of you know what Amazon Neptune is as a graph database family, but I just wanted to highlight some of the most important things which we hold most dear to the product family, which is that it's incredibly reliable, incredibly scalable, and there's more than one offering. So even if you want to do network science, workloads, you can do that in analytics. You can also do that on RDF in analytics. So you can run open cipher queries over RDF in Amazon Neptune, which is something that many people don't necessarily know. But that's enough about Neptune. You can come to me and speak to me about how you might use the platform. There we go. Oh, I didn't expect that one yet. Just a little bit about the data architecture for the workshop. So each of you is a user, for those of you who partake, hopefully most of you. I think we've got 50 users in total that we can facilitate. And we'll show you how to grab a user for yourself. So keyboards at the ready. But each of you who does this will be working as a car trader for a dealership. So look forward to your new career. And each of you will be allocated as a new worker at the dealership with a car lot, which will be represented as a DCAT data set, as Tony has described. And each dealership will be represented as a data product, as a DPROD data product. So that's kind of how the data will sit together. But it will be pretty simple, I think. Well, we hope it will be pretty simple to put together and build. We've provided plenty of tooling to do so today. This is the architecture, which luckily you don't have the task of putting together for the workshop. We've done that for you. On the left-hand side, this has a pointer thing, doesn't it?
Sure.
Oh, I'm not going to bother with that. So on the left-hand side, you'll see there's data sources that are coming in. We've already built the lower data set here, which is the DMV car history data. So that's the Department for Motor Vehicles, I believe, in the US.
Each data is a different one. BMV, DMV, depending what state you're in.
Fair enough. Yeah, I accept the taxonomy.
Yeah.
But yeah, anyway, it is information about vehicles which maybe you may not have access to as the car dealership or the salesperson from the lot, such as, for example, dodgy mileage information or dodgy ownership information about where those vehicles existed. And we also have a SQL database which has some origin data about the actual inventory of cars which you as dealers will be selling. So each of you will effectively have your own lot, your own car lot, which you'll be pushing into the OriginTrail decentralized knowledge graph through graph build. So we'll give you the opportunity to design and build that model a little bit in graph build, download the data, push it into OriginTrail, and then after that, and that will all be stored in Amazon Neptune under the hood, and then after that, you'll be able to interact with that through the AI agents. So you'll be able to talk to those data products and maybe buy or sell a few cars. I don't know quite how far we can get, but there we go. That's the start of your new career. I hope you're looking forward to it. What have we got next?
So,
All right.
so
So,
get cracking. Is
so
everybody,
we're going to get cracking.
everybody got hopefully lots of people have got laptops. If you're able to open that link tree, you'll be able to get through to a set of instructions. Fantastic. Are we able to open that on the screen?
You want to take over?
The links don't work. The links don't work on Google Doc.
Oh, that's a good
Okay.
You
start.
have to
isn't it?
just, you have to say open it. You have to like,
Let's see.
Okay.
Hopefully you can
Yeah,
see
we're not
that. This is,
guaranteeing that anything will work. by the way.
so hopefully within the link tree, you can get to this document. If not, we're going to walk you through it. So don't fear. What we will see here is that, first of all, the way that it's structured will sort of go straight to follow along.
Is everyone able to get in, or raise your hands if you
You
can't?
have dozens of links here. Which one is that?
The one at the top.
It's the picture
Oh,
at the
okay.
top, yeah, the green
The one that
picture.
doesn't look like a link. All right.
Can you show it again? Maybe just for everybody to see, because I didn't think it was
Let's go
obvious.
back to it. Yeah, absolutely. So if you've opened the link tree link, it's this green thing in the middle here. So if you click on that, that will give you the follow along instructions. But we're going to walk you through it anyway. If you go to the third tab on the left-hand side.
Everyone's got the link tree link as well. Yeah.
Anyone having difficulties at this stage?
yeah, I don't have the link.
Ah, okay, not a problem.
Show the link tree.
Maybe it's bring up.
Let's do that. So the link tree link. How do I get back to your PowerPoint?
The first one, the first tab.
Great, excellent. So it is just here at the bottom. So it's https://link.tr.ee/DPROD Danny.
That's Charlie. That's Charlie's.
Charlie's
name.
wonderful name for this. Excellent. We've got plenty of time for this as well, so don't worry, don't feel rushed. So you get through to here, and as I say, the instructions are in this particular section. But what I'm going to ask folks to do is to click on this one with the key next to it underneath, which should open up a spreadsheet. And this is where the race begins. Oh, look, some people are ahead of us. Good. Well, look at all of these people. So if you put your name against an empty cell, then you've claimed that user and that lot of 10 cars. So we're going to give you some time just to, if anybody's, there we go. If somebody's name is already there, please don't overwrite it, because that might. Has it already happened? Oh, no, okay.
And I think it's if everyone hits a Google Doc once, you can actually get registration.
This,
We're
yes,
also testing Google Docs today.
absolutely. We'll be sending the feedback back to Google. We're doing well. They're filling up. So while people are still doing that, you'll probably notice that column C has a number of usernames. They are case sensitive, so capitals for user and then the number. That is also the lot number of cars that you're going to be receiving. And a password, a really secure password, you can tell, that we've put in there for ease of typing. Important things to note. The links next to them, one will take you to column E, will take you to a graph build. And it is important to note that you click on the link that's specific to your line, because they are slightly different. They are different instances. And then the column F we're going to come on to in terms of OriginTrail. But again, important to note that they are different for each user. Okay. we're going to move on to the next section. Which, yes, shall we log into GraphBuild at this point? Let's do that. Okay. So we're going to log in as.
Oh, yes, and sheet 2 is not for public use. This is.
You can see it. So this is like Otto von Bismarck once said. You continue to the site. Oh, yes, it's not got an encryption thing on it just for today.
So
Excellent.
this is where you use the user that you've been assigned.
Okay, that's great. Yes, and in this case, we are going to be user 51, and going to log in. So would you like to take over now? Shall I operate?
I'll do a little intro. So on the left-hand side here, you'll see some menu items. We're going to be working mainly in the SQL models link, but before we go to that, you'll notice just underneath that, you've got a schema and ontology models link. If you click on there, please, Ben.
Is everyone in, by the way? Any problems?
I think, yeah, we'll keep describing anyway. We can go back and we'll walk around and help people out. Quick show of hands, maybe. Who has actually logged in yet? Anybody?
Yes.
Excellent. Wonderful. Okay. So, yeah, if you go to the schema ontology models menu item on the left, you'll see that there is a complete ontology tile. And if you click on there, you will see a visualization of the ontological model which we're using today. So GraphBuild Studio has the ability to design and build and create and share and collaborate on ontological models. You can design multiple different diagrams from the same ontology and join them together. It's very visual, very easy to use, the aim of which is to bring down the barrier to entry so that people can really start using these technologies without necessarily being as informed as most of us are. So this is the ontology we're going to be using. And you can toggle in the very top right-hand corner of this screen. You'll see this is read-only because we don't want you guys to mess up too much of this today. You can toggle between different modes of viewing the property. So here you can see a sort of exploded set of what all the statements are you expect to see in the ontology. But if you collapse that down, you'll see them as almost a set of properties. And you can click on a node and see the properties in a table on the right-hand side. Oh, and yeah.
So just relating it back to the DPROD, remember we're saying that shared terms are needed for a functioning marketplace. So here, multiple dealers, you guys are all putting up your cars, but we've got the shared terms which are being defined by this ontology. That's what's going to let this marketplace function because we're all conforming to the same ontology. So now we're able to exchange information with each other.
Yeah, absolutely. Thank you, Tony. So that's the ontology, but that's really just for reference. That's for you to view and see if you want. If you could click back on the logo in the top left-hand corner, that's how you get back to the main menu. Thank you, Ben. You'll notice that just above that in the main menu on the left, there's SQL models. And that's where you're going to be working today, for the first part anyway. You'll notice that there are two tiles. In fact, I think there's going to be one tile here for all you guys on the left. And if you click on that tile, you'll notice there is already a partial model there, but this is read-only. What you'll need to do is save this as your username to start working on your own version of this. So if you click on the link at the top there, the drop-down, you can drop that down, please, Ben. Okay. And you'll see there's a Save As button.
We seem to have the complete model.
Yeah, we have the complete model.
So we need to go back. If we go,
SQL one.
that's all right. Is it there?
Yes,
Do you have a Save Me as your username in SQL models?
yeah, and when you click on that, we get like a more.
Yeah, it's very complete.
It's more
Maybe
complete.
yeah. And we
I
get
wonder if I can republish that.
it's a very elaborate model, I think is the solution to the problem. rather than-
I'm not sure that it is. I'm not sure that it is. If you were to, yeah, if you could close that
We don't
and
need that, yeah.
change the,
Oh, that's the same. That's the same.
Oh, no, that's good.
no, that's good. That's exactly what we want. So maybe Ben could bring up the same thing.
Show you, this will look the same.
Yeah, there we go. This is what you should see. So
Okay.
We've deliberately made it quite easy to complete. So we've done a lot of it, but what we would like you to do is to join the dots. And what we wanted to illustrate is that Graph Build gives you the opportunity to build the actual data model from its source of SQL data or from many other sources to conform to the ontological model. So we're ensuring that the ontological model is conformed to when we're creating some real data. You'll notice on the left-hand side, there's a few different entries here. There's query at the top, query results and input blocks. If you could open up query, please, Ben.
We need to save as.
Oh, you do?
We haven't. So, folks, if you can go up to the top, and you'll see there's a sort of drop down, which I've already expanded here.
Is it possible to dim the lights here so we can see?
Oh,
Good question.
Is there anybody with audio visual?
Anyone from tech team, maybe?
We will try to.
Check Emma, please.
Say,
It's a good suggestion.
it's doing well against time, folks, so don't worry, we're not going to run out of time on this. So the idea, and actually one of the things while we wait for that, is the ability to be able to publish an ontology for other people to reuse it in this way, sort of read-only in this example. And one of the things I really favor as a user of Graph Build is the ability for people to own ontologies within an organization and share them in such a way that people aren't treading on each other's toes, trying to remodel different activities from one product to another. Oh, that's much better.
Oh, nice.
Fantastic.
Thank you.
Better down more.
Perfect.
This is great.
Great, yeah.
So hopefully you can see at the top, there's a drop down, which I've already opened up under Save Me As. And then if you've got the top one highlighted and click Save As, I will attempt to demonstrate this. And then you replace that name, preferably with your username, if you recall. So capitals, user, and then the number of your user.
And again, to labour the same point, we've given you each, you're all using one SQL database here, but you could imagine a situation where each of you is your own car dealership. Someone's got their data in that CSV in certain format, another one's got it in XML, another one, you're like this kind of diverse variety of different data sources, and you're all carrying out this mapping exercise to a centralized standard that's working within the marketplace.
Would you like to talk through that? I'll deal with Debbie when it gets.
Sure. Thank you very much. Thanks. So now that you've saved your own version of this, you can edit it because it's no longer read-only. If you go to the query drop down on the left-hand side.
Will this generate R2RML?
Behind the scenes, R2RML is one of the models which is used, yes. One of, yeah. And you can get access to that if you want to. So in the query tab, you'll notice that there is a lot number that we're filtering the SQL query by. That lot number is deliberately wrong with 99999. You'll need to replace that with the number of your user to give you your specific inventory of cars that you would like to sell. So if you execute that query, you should see some green dots. And if you drop down the query results, you'll see the query results. But in fact, more importantly, if you drop down the input blocks underneath, you'll see hopefully the elements which you can use as part of your model. And then,
So,
please.
excellent. Okay, thank you. So has everybody got that? Are you? Right. Okay, so I love this because it's so easy to map, he says. So just scrolling down to the very bottom, you'll see that there's a thing called brand name. So in the original ontology, you might remember that we'd separated a sort of a class for brand. We're going to drag that across. You just click on it and drag it across like this and drop it into the frame.
Anywhere?
And anyway, near model would be convenient, but it can literally be anywhere if you prefer. And then you'll see that it opens up. Do you want this to be a node or a property? So if you click on the purple node box, And you'll see that it's got the identifier at the top, and then we've got the opportunity to map it to a type. And if you look at the drop downs there, it's referring to the original ontology, so you can map it directly across to that. So you'll notice that brand is the second one down in the list. It says schema : brand, and if you click on that, this and then if you click down to advanced options.
Don't you want to map it to a property, not a node?
Not in this particular ontology, but it's a fair point. It's just happens to be how we modeled it.
For the sake of simplicity, we're using the brand name as the identifier for this particular node. We fully appreciate this is not a perfect ontology. In fact, yes, I've had to apologize to Tony many times about this ontology already. So
it's purely for illustrative purposes.
yeah.
So an important point here is that you can actually have a named graph at the bottom here, and we've actually, I mean, if you wanted to go further, and you can we've put this as public. This could be used, for example, in OriginTrail, but it's defaulting to public here. So just an important point to note that you would be able to do that.
Yeah, sure. So after that, if you just apply that, and in fact, that name graph will be defaulted anyway, so you don't need to touch that necessarily. That will drop in place the node, which is mapped to the ontology and to the source data. And now you should be in a position to connect together the graph, and graph build knows what can connect to what based on the ontological model. So you shouldn't be able to break it at this point. So to connect the dots, literally, you need to connect the dots. Ben, if you could drag down from that top vehicle to the model, and you'll see there that it knows that the relationship between a vehicle and a model can only be the edge model, the predicate model, and basically connect the other dots. So then from there, you can go from the model to the brand, and you'll see the same thing.
Is it worth highlighting the different, also if I, so one of the other things I like is that it also guards against you screwing up. And if anybody knows me, that's really important in terms of my usability on systems. So if we were to try and link things in the wrong direction, so for example, if I try and click lot up to offers, which would be the wrong direction, it immediately notifies you this. So let me just show you that again. That does not conform to your attached ontologies or schemas. So if you then drag down from offers down to lot, then it automatically does that. And we now have the complete mapped ontology to be able to create a pipeline.
Done. Good.
Good. This is wonderful.
I have a question. So
Yes.
So you have here model, and where's the mapping being done? So there's
Right
model.
here.
No, there's model and model name. What's one of them is from the schema, one of them is from the ontology.
Yes. One is exactly what the model name is the field in this in the source.
That's being used to identify the instance of the class model.
Spot on, Dean. That's right. That's
While
correct,
VIN
isn't it?
is where it makes more sense. VIN is an identifier for a vehicle.
Yeah,
Right.
but where is this done? Who's doing that?
Well, you at the moment.
So you're manually mapping it, but it will be stored. It's stored
But
as
it's
a transformer.
I see. So it's
Yeah.
limiting domain and ranged after you map the class to the schema.
And
Yes.
you can publish that to
According
RML model
to
after
your-
that, right?
Yes, that's exactly right. And we're going to show you that next. Also, I mean, it's worth noting that you can, just for simplicity's sake, collapse those things in the top right, which always sort of unclutters the screen somewhat. So the next thing is to click generate model.
Yeah.
And you can do a series of things, including virtualizing that data, but we're not going to be demonstrating that today. If you click the test model button, you will see very quickly a series of NQuads will come up to demonstrate
Okay.
that is working. Now, again, for simplicity's sake, today, we're not going to be moving that into a graph database, but the whole point of this is the ability to be able to create reusable pipelines that are really easy to maintain. What we are going to do instead is we're going to download the results. So if you click that, and I'm going to save this to Bran's desktop. That's okay. And it's going to be called RDF test results 2, or I'll put 51, shall I just, so it's easier to find. There we go.
Insecure download blocked.
Has it happened?
Yes, you'll get lots of warnings about our terrible security patches.
But if you just say, oh, never mind.
Yes.
Then it's all right. Okay, great.
Yes, this is not a production system.
Okay, so you've now got a series of NQuads that have come from a SQL database mapped to an imperfect toy ontology.
Will it generate CSVW for you as well?
That's a great. What are the
CSVW?
CSVW.
CSV on the web, so it basically describes your table with optional JSON
I
LD.
don't think that's one of the options at the moment. The JSON LD.
It's there in the background, you just have to push it out.
That could be a new feature request. Okay, so now we're going to go back to the spreadsheet. And it is time to go to column E. And I think, Bran, you're going to talk us through this bit, aren't you? This is great.
So you can keep that one, maybe circle it around if necessary. All right, we're great on time. We have 30 minutes, fantastic. So plenty. Okay, folks, now I'll try and zoom maybe just a moment out. So basically back to this sheet, there's another column F, which is the URL to your appropriate node for your account, a node on the OriginTrail network. And if you go there and like open up a link, you should see a purple UI, which I'll also open here. And essentially, I'm just gonna open one of them. I think I already have them. Yes. So, brief explanation what we're seeing here and how does it fit? So we're seeing a UI. I'm logged into actually 2 nodes. So I mean, you can open both Tennessee dealership and New York Auto Shop, as you can see here. This is a UI into what we call an edge node on the DKG. And actually you see this triangle, if it was bigger, it would look a lot like that data mesh slide with all the connections. This is a network of 3 nodes on the DKG. And obviously done for this workshop, but actually on the DKG right now, on the mainnet, and there's a mainnet and the testnet. The testnet is like your playground with the, things breaking, and you can test and do all kinds of things for free. And the mainnet is the main productive network. So on the mainnet, there's around 74 nodes, I believe, at the moment, which are so they call core nodes. These core nodes are really your networking nodes. And then there's these edge nodes that you can plug into them. So it's kind of like edge nodes are like your mobile phone, and the core node is like your cell phone tower. And they work together in this DKG network. Now, the idea is not to teach everything about the DKG here, but it's a very exciting topic, at least for me. So if you're interested in how this works, we can talk about it later. There's a lot of peer-to-peer and other different communication protocols under the hood. But what's important here is we have these 3 nodes. And these 3 nodes imagine them being in 3 different locations. So this is somewhere at the DMV, in their server, whatever, rack. This is somewhere in Tennessee. Hopefully this may be somewhere on Amazon, but they all use, by the way, Amazon Neptune under the hood here, this example. And why this is interesting is they're using 3 different instances of Neptune. So essentially we were trying to recreate what we normally see on the DKG, but like I said, it could be another database. So it could be BlazeGraph under one of them. Actually, a lot of the community is using BlazeGraph still. And we're really pounding it lately. So Charlie and the team have been helping us to make sure it can scale. So by the way, just as the graph build interface, this interface is also something that it's not like the end product in the sense of you can now just buy OriginTrail and this is what you get. This is what you get as kind of a template, if you will, or a starter. think of it as like WordPress. You download WordPress and there's barely anything into it, and then you customize. You add themes and you create features, you code, you can, so kind of that's the idea here. And we have a couple of different pages I'll take it through. But before I go, I want to show this little node status over there. So nodes, by the way, to be semantically precise here, we have a bit of ambiguity. I guess most of us here are used to using the word node in the sense of a node in the graph. So this is actually a node as a server, node as a machine in a network. So we can call them servers even if it's easier. But point is, these nodes or these servers synchronize. What do they synchronize? Well, there's two layers to the DKG, if you will. There's a kind of a shared layer, public layer, and then there's like a private layer, if you will. So each of these nodes owns their own data. It sits on their machine, but they can also choose to publish some triples, some knowledge assets, as we call them. And when they do so, then they synchronize. So, for example, the DMV node, it's plugged in with the rest. And let's say if New York Auto Shop publishes some data that it wants to, just like you publish a post on LinkedIn for the others to see, here the idea is you publish basically some knowledge assets or data in your data product and for others to see. Now, what does it mean for others to see? Well, in this case, the example is that you can find used cars. So maybe you want to buy a used car, and I guess we didn't take geography into account, but let's say it doesn't matter to you if you want to go to New York or Tennessee, and like somehow they're very close by. But let's assume they are. But so the point would be that you can query across dealerships, what are the different cars available, and then you can sift through them. But what's also kind of a point we want to try to showcase today is that maybe there's some data that this dealership, and I'm currently logged into this one, maybe it has some private information, something that it didn't publish to the others. So it will naturally have access to that. So this agent that we'll go to, which is basically has a chatbot interface, but it's actually an agent under the hood, will have access, but the other one wouldn't. Which is very interesting from a data product perspective, because you could create all kinds of knowledge marketplaces there. You could basically, because it's all part of the big graph, this node can request from that node, hey, I want to buy that. And I can use, for example, like some sort of Stripe API, or I can use the blockchain under the hood, or I can just count. It's up to you to build whatever you want. So you can sort of do a data trading. Let's say for that, you can sort of measure, I gave you this many triples, so you owe me 50 triples, and then you can build all kinds of things. It's open source. We've done some interesting data marketplaces with blockchain under the hood, which are cool if you're looking at the trustless scenario. And I'll just explain in 2 sentences because it's not the topic of this workshop, but essentially what's cool is in a decentralized way, because you don't have like a broker or an escrow in between. There is a situation there you could potentially pay for some data product, and then you don't get the data in the back, right? That some server somewhere in the world, you may have completed the payment. So you can use blockchain in between as this sort of judge escrow. There are protocols developed by researchers which allow you to ensure that this transaction happens. So if I actually sent out tokens in this case to buy this data, that I really receive that data back, and I'll explain how in a bit. And if I don't get the data, I can actually challenge that and get those tokens back. If anybody's interested in that topic, super happy to chat on that. But we have actually.
Just to add to that, you'll probably see on the spreadsheet there's a link. In fact, there should be lots of links to this as a form to connect with Bran, Tony, Charlie, and myself. So please do feel free to use that to be able to register your interest. It's at the top of the Excel spreadsheet that we've all been in.
Brandon, one thing.
Yes.
The protocols you're mentioning, are we talking about the link data notification and activity or something else?
Actually not in this case, but there's no barrier to using it. So I'm gonna step back one step just to remind everybody, this is like an open source thing that you download, install, and then you build on top. So you can absolutely plug it in and use it. So all of this, including the UI, is open source. And later I can show you where you can go to install. Basically, there's an installer, a shell installer. There will be a Docker one as well. It's a quite new product, by the way, that you can just run and install this and then modify and play with it. And if you do, let us know, because we'd love to hear what's your experience. and how we can improve it. But anyway, so in the interest of time, we got 20-ish minutes left. If you go to this add to data product page, this is really a page where we will publish the data that you previously exported from GraphBuild. And I should find it in my messy desktop, right? Yeah, awesome. So I'll pick it up. Desktop.
Excuse me.
Yes.
Thank you for this example. This is an example that most of the
Okay, did we
enterprise
download?
dealing with for incorporating various data sets into knowledge graph. But there is one very important layer, and that is entity resolution layer. That the same entity exists in various data sets, and once we want to ingest into knowledge graph, they have to be resolved.
It's true. Yeah,
So
can
they
be.
have to assign a new ID also to that.
Sometimes, so that, yeah, there are some very useful techniques which we can discuss. Sorry, yes, thank you. The question was about entity resolution, and if you're joining lots of things together and just building graphs, you can't do so without taking into consideration whether or not they're the same thing, whether they're different things, and making sure that you join the right things together, basically. There are various services which are specifically designed just for the purpose of entity resolution. So, of course, it is a science in itself, just doing entity resolution. But there are AWS companies.
It is not about how to do entity resolution. We have our own planning to do.
Yep.
But the problem is that how to manage the IDs. So they have their ID from source system. And once we want to ingest to knowledge graph, we have to assign a new ID.
Yep.
And so two entities today got resolved. Tomorrow they might a new entity join them, resolve.
Yeah.
So we really have a serious problem for kind of permanent ID. And data scientists wants to do analytic on the data. If the ID of today is different from our ID of yesterday, we cannot trace back our modeling.
Right. You're raising interesting questions about provenance and you know, changing data over time to do with entity resolution, of course. And there are various techniques we can take using the tooling that you see here, but also in the modeling techniques. And to be honest, I'll be delighted to go into more detail about how we can manage that in the tools that we've showed you after this. I think it's probably too long for me to explain now, but great questions. Thank you.
And I would say as well, just from the pattern perspective, then what you're doing when you're publishing the data set, it's like you're kind of, because you're making these URIs resolvable, then it's like you're kind of giving a domain to each data publisher. So it's like they're getting a domain on the web, like going and registering a website. So you need to make sure that each data publisher is in control of their URI naming scheme. So, you know, that's the kind of pattern.
But the eventual knowledge graph, what kind of ID should have for the several entities which resolve into one single entity in knowledge graph?
For the merging, well, with this pattern, with the data product pattern, you would then have like an aggregating data product. So you would have like the downstream systems, which would be producing data sets at the lower level with their own URIs, and then you'd have an aggregating data product. So let's say that you were doing, let's say that you wanted to make trades available. So you would then be, you'd have your kind of different trading systems, each with their own data product around it. But then you can have a unique, a unified trades data product, which was taking those data sets as input and then merging them together. We can talk about it afterwards. And there's an ex-colleague of mine, Gregor, there. We had to do exactly this stuff at UBS.
Yeah, I think we need to get cracking. So we need to publish our data product, which means taking the resultant NQuads file, which you download. And by the way, we're using that test feature in GraphBuild to download this, but it does have the capability of configuring things as a proper pipeline to go straight into Neptune. So we're testing it now, but really these things are automated in production workflows. So grab your NQuads file and drag it into your interface.
And just drop it here.
Drop it in there, and then it will publish your car lot. And finally, you can take on board your new role as a car dealer.
I can explain briefly what's going on here. So there's a three-step basically process, and actually it's publishing to the DTG, which under the hood is actually going to also invoke a transaction on the blockchain. That's where the blockchain part comes in. So the triples, they get replicated across that network of 3 nodes. So that's somewhat trivial. But the nodes, they communicate in a decentralized way. So they get, like, first of all, they ping each other, hey, I got some data for you. And then the other one, sure, show me what the data is about and who you are. And essentially, part of that, what the data is about, comes about from blockchain. So I'll open up just very briefly this link. So it should open up the transaction on the blockchain. And because this is a block explorer, it might take a second or two just to pick it up. But what we'll see is, and there it is. Okay, slower than I expected. Okay, then we can do this. But I'll actually have something in the, whatever the reason is, I'm not sure that the transaction, there it is. So what's actually happening is the transaction happened on the blockchain, and then this block explorer called Subscan listens to the blockchain and then picks this up. And actually there's something that might be useful for the question that was previously posed. Again, I wouldn't go into all of the blockchain details. There's a bunch of rubbish here. But what this blockchain transaction holds is a hash, a Merkle hash of the data set. So that data you published, we created the Merkle tree. Anybody know by show of hands what I mean by Merkle tree? Okay, a few hands. Maybe I add just a sentence or two on that. Imagine you took your data set and chopped it up into 32 bytes sequences. So like literally strings. And you produced hashes out of each one of them. So now you have an array of hashes. And now out of all those hashes, you create a tree. So you take hash number 1 and 2 and hash them together, hash number 3 and 4 and hash them together. And basically you create a tree. Why this is really useful? Because you can basically produce this root of the tree, which is called Merkle root or Merkle hash. And then there's a really cool way that you can now imagine a very big array, a huge data set that was chopped up. Like I could, for example, show a triple to Ben and say, hey, this is part of that data set. I'll give him something called the Merkle proof. And he will be able, if I give him the proof, that the root hash and that piece of data, he would be able to prove, oh, this is actually part of that original data set. And I didn't have to share all of the data with him. Maybe because I didn't want to, or maybe it was big. So essentially think of it as, we call them inclusion proofs. So basically you can show that, hey, in this data set or this data product, I know that this car had this mileage. And I can prove it to you. Well, is this going to be a human proving? Not really, because we won't compute Merkle trees, but these nodes do under the hood. So back to that publishing part, because this transaction was created and the hash was on the chain, the other node said, okay, I'm going to accept what you send me only if the hash matches to that thing that you're publishing. If it doesn't match, I'm not even going to consider it. So from that moment on, basically everything is timestamped, hashed. So whatever change might happen due to error or malicious activity or whatever can be detected and nobody can trick you. So your node is safe unless you break it somehow. At the same time, that data set got something we call a universal asset locator, because these are knowledge assets that are being published on the DKG. That's the name. They actually get a bunch of these NFTs. We get to the monkey pictures part, but there's currently, in this one, there's a bunch of NFTs, but they're not monkey pictures. They're actually identifiers produced uniquely on chain for every entity in the data set you publish. So perhaps could be useful for your problem, because if you have a problem of generating IDs, this generates IDs for you, and they're immutable, and nobody can create the same ID as you. At the same time, you own that ID, that knowledge asset or that NFT. So this address here, I'll zoom in, this EE89, this is the public key of a wallet of that node that we used. So that node has a key, and only that node can now manage this knowledge asset. What could it do? For example, it could update. Let's say we want to update the car. Okay, well, I need to speed up, I'm sorry. So if you update the car, only the one who has the NFT ownership, let's say you can update it. If you want to sell this ownership, you can. You just sell the NFT or send it to somebody else. It's one transaction. And the management of, I wouldn't say access control, but really content management control is done on the blockchain. And by the way, you can pick different blockchains. This is one of the blockchains called NeuroWeb that we have spawned. Anyways, so publishing happened, and the publishing created this transaction, and there's a URL, and there it is. Actually, it's a DID. Maybe somebody heard about this decentralized identifier standard. Basically, this DID, if I clicked on it now, and it should work, it should open up this data set in the visualizer. And here, you can even play a bit with this graph. So it's a kind of 3D cool graph of what we published. And what you see, so is it okay if I show it here? So this is the UAL, like I said, it says it's a decentralized identifier on the DKG on this blockchain. Yeah, better over there. Yeah. So there's that. Which blockchain is? What's the transaction? Who was the publisher? So basically the provenance, the data provenance of this data set, and then you also can copy the JSON. Yes, go ahead.
What is the acronym UAL?
Uniform Asset Locator. You can also read about it on the DKG docs. So I'm seeing that time is running, but go ahead.
Yeah, so are the output data sets for your data products invariably a graph and the input data sets are heterogeneous?
Yes, so they end up in a graph, and basically what we did here is we submitted an NQuads file. And this, by the way, has some pipelines. Actually, this right now is running Apache Airflow under the hood. So you can create any type of pipeline to crunch whatever input you want into whatever output you want. So we basically made it NQuads to JSON LD. And so now we have this JSON LD here as we've seen it. But the cool part, which we're trying to get to, is the agents, right? The whole agent story. So this agent here, I can actually ask it some questions. And
what's the average mileage?
Let's see if that one works. So maybe just a note on what's happening here.
And for our last trick.
So the agent, there's basically now a combo of an LLM and the knowledge graph. And this data we put in, we can query it. Now, of course, it's not trivial to go and retrieve, basically doing RAG, retrieval augmented generation. We help ourselves a little bit with the LLM. We gave it the ontologies, we gave it some examples, and now we can ask questions. Now, will it answer every question perfectly? No, but it will answer some.
Branimir, sorry, a magician should never give up his secrets.
Yeah, magic, it's magic. It's magic. And for example, we can, give me an overview of all of Hondas available. What's happening now is it's actually retrieving knowledge assets. It constructed a query under the hood, and it's going into the graph. And I don't know for some reason streaming doesn't work. It should actually stream. There it is. So it tells us what kind of models are available and what the information here is, including, and then I'm logged into Cosmo One. So everybody who pushed data into Cosmo and you pushed it in here, including all of these entities. So we can see them, including their IDs like Pearl White, Honda Civic, and whatever, and the mileage. And yeah, basically you can go here. If you've done the publishing and everything under the hood, you can navigate to this page and ask a question, and hopefully you get an answer.
And there's no Porsches for sale, though. No Porsches.
No Porsches, unfortunately. No, with the synthetic data we generated, Porsche was not. So next time, in honor of the wonderful
No Porsches.
Chris, we will make sure Porsche is represented. A little bit of fun. I falsified the information on the offers that you received so that you are underreporting the number of owners in many cases, previous owners, underreporting the number of crashes your vehicles have been in, and underreporting the mileage. And the DMV database knows the truth. So if you want to ask some questions to try and determine that could be a bit of fun as well.
I think there's a bug, but it should work. Yeah, it does. So it copies the previous answer again, but I asked it for show me all Fords under 30K, and there it is. It found
those are
Mustang
brands under
a bunch of them. So and by the way, zooming just out, we're now querying the data on this one node. The same can be done on other nodes. So they synchronize under the hood with this feature we call a pairnet, but I won't go there. I can explain later how that works.
Well, actually, on that, if you want to learn more about this, and hopefully it's been interesting, we deliberately made it a very simple workshop for you to be able to follow along. And it seems that everybody's had success in following along who tried. Is that right? Anybody have challenges? So we obviously kept it super simple. We would love to connect with you and talk more about, for example, Paranets and DPROD. and of course graph build. You know, we've only sort of scratched the surface on all of these things that you can benefit from. We'd also like to talk to you about data management at scale and how you can use all of this to manage data, particularly in enterprises. So in fact, we do have our beautiful smiling faces there. So please do connect. We're obviously here all week as well, and we really appreciate you participating in the workshop today and taking the time with us. Thank you.
It worked. Good job. Good job, guys. Good job. AI is still just a moment of attention, folks. If you're interested in that call for papers and extending this this journey, this OriginTrail ecosystem with your idea, with your research project, with your product, do scan this code and you'll be able to find information on that.
I just have a quick question then. Yes. So, I noticed you used Ethernet, like, I mean, yeah, Ethereum is what I mean. Not IPFS, like, as far as develop, like, OriginTrail is not.
It doesn't use IPFS under the. Yeah, it can. It can. So any fully resolvable UI is doable. Yeah. Yeah. So. Oh.
So I have an image graph. I've got about a million image graphs. I want to get with you.
We should talk.
I really do.
Yeah. Oh, awesome. Hey, we're here. We're here today and throughout I'm here throughout the conference. Thank you.
In San Francisco 4 years ago.
Oh.
About my system. So I mean, like, so I've already done a lot of stuff on publishing with IPFS.
Awesome.
But I'm like, you know, but it's a technical picture together.
Let's talk. Let's talk. Yeah. Let me just get my stuff out so we can meet over there. Yeah. Thanks, everybody. Hey, let me just kill my microphone so like I'm not.
Then I will tell.
Yeah, yeah. Oh, great.
I don't want to.
We have 3 minutes left. Okay. Yes. So you can totally unplug me or everything. Yep. Awesome.
That's what you use, right?
Thank you so much.
I thought it was.
Brings all those together and makes
That's my daughter.
It's a mobile site as well. Oh, it's a nice that's should have GSIM started. Yes. Workshops. Oh, from saving the endpoints at the end. Well, actually, what we would normally do is because this is you know the pain that it would be to maintain as you know our database. Well, this is a fantastic repeatable pipeline. So normally you would connect it to the source of connected to the source, you connect it to the target. Just drag and drop. DPG. Okay, check which and I will do it user. I think we should check out. That's the mistake I made when I first. My details. I mean, we're going to be rerunning this again and again. If you think it's useful to say, I don't know which company you're at MIT. Of course, MIT. Show me you'll run it for MIT. It would be a great honour.
So in this demo, there was 3 nodes that are like sort of.
Yes.
And does each node have all of the data?
Well, not the way we set it up. We set one for a moment.
Didn't align.
But you could have any number of those data products.
Whereabouts are you from?
What we were calling nodes.
I was curious if there was anything else. I guess that's what happens when America gets like.
Port number that has the most registered.
France is the same. So you have a machine that has data source. And it's talking to other machines. Yes. And when you, like, for example, the AI agent,
Been living in
you're querying.
about 4 years now. Just outside.
Right. So are you querying a silent server? Not server. Are you querying the entire
I would, I think that's kind of a question. So one of the things
Great.
for the in-depth stuff.
Okay.
I believe
Enjoy the work.
Yes.
Yeah, I think so.
We should check more. Yeah, I tried to get you out of the golden guy to retrace.
I mean, if you can do that, that's what I meant by I'm not sure if that is the best. Well, I'm thinking the whole.
Yeah, that's different, that's right. Yeah, the DPMN Reusable guide to run it.
So I mean, the other one, actually, the email. And I almost.
Let's go get some.
It's only different things.
Also, the. Just my favorite.
Chatbot. Medical communications is probably around.
Worried.
That's the problem. There's too many people.
Yeah, it's like I said, also there's like.
Because even like, yeah, even last one I talked, I want to send that repo to you. Yeah.
Second half.
Yeah,
Did you get the repo? So we.
You said he was gonna send it out.
Oh. And then.
I still get used.
I don't know if I. Mention one of
And by the way, sorry, when I say start from blank page, last year we had those things. I mean, one of my ideas was we get one outcome. And we literally say, okay, forget everything else, just pretend we had only one outcome. And we literally take, and the other reality I'm starting to. Maybe we just need technique, not because they are supposed to be final. But okay, if here are the, so that's what I meant by taking an example, but how, whatever you want to say, honestly, neither of you can say that from Abbott today.
If I was supposed to do it at this point.
I was probably like shooting my.
I don't have access.
Jeremy, I'm sorry, I see you're around. Yes.
Why do you? So.
In the example today, there were, before there were parsing all nodes are like servers, right? Does each one store all of the information or just a subset?
So,
and when, also, when you the agent and you're talking to it, is it just taking information from one of these machines and like querying that, or is it also?
awesome question. So it's
right now,
so there's multiple things here. So from the, let's say, Get what you get is.
I mean, I can.
Publish it, let's say to completely public, in a completely public way to the public DKG, and then all the nodes have it. So here, if I go back to this, I'm sure you can see it. There's a drop down, basically. Okay, here. So so we didn't have time to explain it. Basically, there's three levels of abstraction. There's the node, the server. And then the server, you can store something just for the server, but generally that's not so interesting for the DKG because then the second abstraction is the last level is the DKG itself. So you can publish something for everybody to see. And the other nodes are listening to those events and watching to see, there's something new. If they're set to synchronize, which was this synchronization here, and they're going to get it. So basically, or they will receive it. Anyways, there's this, consider that there's this public graph that anybody can stuff things in. Of course, that's its own problems. With the data, what is so, for that, the third level of abstraction is what we call canvas. Think of it as like your ownable non-graph. So here, what I did is I actually published to the New York Auto Shop area. How familiar are you with knowledge graphs and IBS?
So you said, but it's everything I've learned on myself, like.
Okay, so you know what a main graph is? Main graph is like okay, SQL we have tables like this, right? So main graph is like a table. I have a record going. So what you actually created here is like your table, and then you can set that table to be publicly publishable or permission. You can add permissions to yourself, you can add permissions to other people. So for example, you and I could together create our own graph, but only you and I can publish it. And now, we can also set, do we let other nodes synchronize that? But it's very flexible. And they have basically, we can create different kinds of graphs. They can be anything from fully public with permission to private permission. And then private permission means they basically sit on a set of nodes that we let into that parent. Does that make sense? Yeah. So we needed all these levels because of all the enterprises that they will just come to us and they will be like, well, yeah, it's all cool, we want to do this public, but we need this only between, I don't know, the Israeli companies. So the way you kind of set up environments, different graphs, and then you configure them to the company. You even have like a stage of thing. Let's say you and I are doing our own parent. So knowledge graph, before we add something, you want to approve. All the data can go first into this data staging, and then basically the next step is you come and approve my entry. Then it becomes part of the production parent, and then all of that is actually managed on the blockchain, so it's all done by keys. Now, you probably, I'm not sure how much you're familiar with blockchain, but we put everything under the hood. So a lot of that can be moved away from the user, but it can also be exposed to the user. So we have another version of the node where here, instead of these settings and everything, we have a connect wallet. Connect the wallet, and then you publish with the wallet, which is great. You can expose that to the world. So one of the things that's happening is there's folks in the decentralized science. They're sort of incentivizing people to publish scientific papers into their parent. So they let anybody do so. They just come in and just crunch into graphs and whatever, and then they use that wallet to send them tokens that you want. It's an interesting experiment. Yeah, that's basically it. So
everything that's published ends up with an NFT that is tied to.
Yes, it's tied with a person and it's tied with entities in the graph. So let's say you publish one graph entity, one object is going to get an ID. which is UAL. It's really unique. Nobody else can own this like UAL because they're just open. That's
I mean, by the way, see, I hope I'm gonna make
NFTs, you just your record.
You're with like, you know,
having an injury.
Right, so the only thing, the data itself is not, it's just
One thing that I did miss to say is, the assumption here is you can use the DPG somewhat as like. So let's say Amazon, you use Amazon. AWS. You pay. You pay as you go, depending on how much hardware you use. Here, you can basically think of it in the same way, you just pay with tokens whenever.
Yeah, there's definitely.
Use it,
don't go for
so you would basically push 1 gigabyte of data, you pay tokens, for example.
kind of like.
Very much.
According to me, the right thing to do is have take leads, only downsides.
Hey, nice to meet you. Noses. What is Noses?
My web development is like contracting.
Awesome. So you're a builder?
Yeah, co-founded section here.
Oh, wait, what section? Tell me about it.
We, in the very beginning stages of trying to figure out.
on a project, both in Rob and Robert.
So,
And
yeah, very interested in what you're.
I mean, happy to check. We're looking for for us, this is whole.
I don't think this is the one. I'm not trying to say what
Designated to that.
so that's exactly my point, which is we should just assume that we need 5 votes. Because to me, by the way,
Plus, we and there will be some investors. I don't know if you guys were here before the workshop.
The workshop you just did?
Yeah, but before the meeting. So you might please. There's plenty of these synergies that you could explore in the ecosystem if you're building something.
it's really far away, so I have to bring it back. But like some, you know, some people like to sort of be on their own, have their little or happy place. Hey, Charlie Brown, what's up?
Does it?
Wait, doesn't Charlie Brown eat lunch? I don't remember that. Probably. Plus it's a long week. Yeah,
How does it?
no, like I people like I'll wave at Jack and I'm like, I bet he's like,
I guess that's like, that gets to like. Like investor, like, how do you know where something is?
That's a good question. So these couple of instructions. They're there to replace your classic PhD. So if something is in the public graph, either you run a node that's secret blockchain, so or if it's a parameter secret, or if it's something that you discover on the same node, again, the URL. Ultimately, that discovery.
Mind if I borrow that just for a minute?
I'm not using anything, so just don't name my computer. Everything else is at the moment, we are not. So there's no, let's say,
I've never seen it actually work. Anyone thinks that's
are when we solve it, whenever somebody wants your down on something, they basically use the public data, some sort of a metric. So we would publish some triples in public graph, and in a way you would advertise like that as a private triple. And then you say, okay, here I know this, which is good enough for what they say.
When you said it, I was like crying.
Yes.
Usually I'm like pretty good,
But I would love, because this is like, I would love to explore these querying patterns to
melody. Yeah, like they all were sort of.
Yeah, honestly, I mean, we tried and we were like, we need a more practical thing. It's gonna work, so we need to just wait forever to solve it. But if you guys are solving it, I'd love to be part of that.
I went to there, I went to.
So we should have these. I know you probably don't use them. I hate something, so
mean, I've
There's
tried
a lot of cool things that we say, like,
these are all out
Yeah,
there.
they're pretty cool.
and one of the sessions they were talking about like how open sanctions do that, and I was like, okay. And then they were like, oh, well, we have good hierarchy data, and I was like, well, partnership.
But yeah, there's also
I'm
going to
comparing
be
both of
some
them.
it's called for people just
Anyone in terms of
introduction of bigger which is called the collective fundamental treasury.
Data products one.
So that is a system where we want to establish a way that builders like yourselves could use the treasury to build. Not just let's say you have some features, whatever new client is
very different.
you can build it and you can use it, then if you will reflect from that treasury, which again will be very expensive. We're still setting this up, so this will go like online end of the year or next year. It's called for papers in a way. So for us, it's also a way to gauge what people are using, what kind of things will be doing. And if they are, one of the sort of fears is that this treasury gets used the wrong way. So we want to establish community governed processes where people can decide themselves.
But they had it like set up to like, yeah, the actual.
All right, beverage time.
That's what I'm saying, we should have swapped.
Sorry, can I take something like this?
Less value for everything. And at the same time, they also feel good. People are like, we had some great before, which was okay. But, the learning was, as well, looking to it's not something where I have very limited amount of time in my field. I wanna, work with a professional who actually are the real deal,
In order to get something.
There's a lot of leverage. And I won't say some of the areas have more than quite often without getting a lot of good intentions. That's all. I'm all for it. But last
It's service a role in any rank.
Why not
I don't think the other
Interoperability is like step one as well.
The whole making money part, we're still trying to figure that out because like, you don't wanna go after VC money, or stories that have value eroded over time, demands money, and then even like some of the.
We get asking back.
Thousands of like angry agents,
We just need it up.
Where you go, you take money.
You guys know what it feels like. That's part of the reason why I have no hair anymore, to be honest. By the way, meet Emma, she's ecosystem growth. I see you're looking at me because you should move, right?
No, you can be here. I'm just telling you at the floor from the lobby with Bob.
Oh, okay. Hey, if you guys want to join us.
Yeah, you're the one we have to talk to.
There are no.
I mean, I don't mind standing in the back.
You let me know when you're going.
They're like local, right? We don't know, but we were told that they kind of was fighting.
I think this table should reflect that because I think.
They're at the conference for the next day. We don't catch up tonight. Let's talk some more. I need to do something crazy.
Use cases we can do.
Why would they be product owner in the
I do think.
I mean, if you just.
So it's less about that than it is about the order. Yeah.
Well, everybody starts, what is special about this?
Oh, I didn't see this, okay. Just got it. But it was one of those bags that like, serving size, this many calories, in the bag, 300 calories. Oh, why do you see, that's crazy. Yeah, and then they're like, the serving size is half, so like, I'm not opening this bag, I'm not eating the whole thing. More than
I'm trying to understand why we have. Even if it is like, I'm not heard anything in our discussions. If it doesn't, if it exists, then it's
kind of what you're talking about, like very purist, like, giving it a 0.5. Data sources, Clinch are trusted more than, some GWAS data
that was the other part. Whatever goal okay, well, someone. That is the hope. If you need too many people to verify, they all
just had an index of kind of ridiculous too, because it's like we're building products for the business, so we got a requirement for the business, value impact from the business, they come to us, so they don't stay. And then I like it. And I was like, and then things change, then you should have a lot of confidence. And then you say, query one. The rank one is then we did the re-rank. It ranked one, and then it went out to one, Caroline, and one, and it plotted all the numbers. And so it's almost like, at the top, like 2, 4, 5, 10, 11, 12. It was complete nonsense. And then he did it just one kind of small. So those 2 examples are really interesting. Because that's what's happening.
I think we've actually covered the role of that. Now maybe other rules, like by the way, all this, whatever types of plays, I think we should just get this. And I'm fine to put this picture from now. What I was thinking is now we have 5 minutes, when I read it, I'm not really thinking about it. I was doing over the weekend myself.
Really.
I hope we don't get this individual because I work directly.
Their tech. And whenever it's directly on a different project, he's part of okay, there's another tech. So what do we do? Came up with engineering. And so systems engineer.
So, yeah.
I just do I do projects directly. Oh, no, I've heard this. Just hard. So
That's where you're headed? We're gonna walk. She's never seen it.
This is what I really appreciate.
Thank you.
That face of the stakeholders.
Analytics, the RPA, standing up.
Stakeholders will interact directly.
And it was great. I mean,
This one was hypothetical. I'm saying this because I read those two bullet points.
dive in.
Bringing
Somebody told me once. I have to be able to.
speaking to stakeholders and then.
Take the opportunity to charge.
Let's talk about,
Understanding exactly what the
pretty nerdy. Don't nerd out in front of the law.
It
sounds like
Well, I've always been, which one mostly.
I think that's where Maddie and Abby went
Okay,
to
right.
look for.
I'm with you.
Oh, okay.
Good at that. Okay.
But this is really.
That was, no, it's not. I
No.
don't have it. That's so great. It's not true.
All right, all right.
I feel like it's
Embedded software.
It is going to do that. If Jay is going to do it, I'm pretty sure you can bring it, you sort of take. Then if someone else is doing it, then it's clear.
Like, you're gonna bug me. Yeah, I'm sorry.
You sort of think, I don't know what the right answer here is, but I do know.
Not that I've seen.
There is only one more. Rather than say, and it will be like,
Yeah, the last one, there was like a two mark though. I think that was how everybody was wrapped.
20 years ago. 14.
All right.
Providers.
Yeah, I haven't really dug in too far, so it's possible there's some secret.
Companies were actually.
It was like. Yeah, but just give it a clear, I mean, why is it hypothetically? I had
Football casual.
and ask multiple MS maps that eight users or building.
Their software is
Yeah.
So just so you know, one of the first one with me. Conclusion, and I repeated this 3 times just so I'm like, I just want to make sure. Well, I'm going to repeat this somewhere else and you agree with me.
I don't know enough about it.
You want to talk? This happens not because somebody is trying to sabotage a responsibility. This happens because of the structure. Almost, to be honest, from my point of view, maybe early on, but I rather everyone is feels confident enough to do that. Demos, because by the time it was already
So, this one I had that. But sort of more recently, I spent.
Oh, no, yeah, those demos are, of course, I'm talking about like, right now, someone was giving, Vishal is giving so many demos, are you there? I'm like, but there is some more, even though I'm seeing, Vishal's really truly understand all the stuff, like this, I'm going to give her 1% chance. 99% I'm confident that maybe that doesn't change. I think if I look at this as a pipeline, anyway. I'm least worried. But like the example that I gave right now.
It's a party.
Because I joined the call and asked 6 questions. It was completely reverse compared to what originally.
A bit taller.
Heard from business process design. Sort of academic analogy background.
So I mean, at least the people interpret it not right. I'm not saying elements,
Like I had a meeting with someone.
There becomes so let's just say that we disagree with me, but so why I have a huge.
I also told him, I was like, I should be in this program.
What the requirements, but they interpret solutioning part of their work to be, we do not need broad people there until they know what's going on. And then we will hand over the
our tech organization.
in this example, I don't even know how many, but I'm trying to
Very helpful, very helpful.
with I know it's about visualization capabilities, what is not possible, what do they need. To the point where interpreting what should and should not happen in this class. So by the way, I have to say, I mentioned this Karen, if Jen was part of that, that probably would be different than Christian. I was there, something. So the first meeting I joined, which by the way, you have a shared service, at least 3 requests. Please be adding to these meetings. Why? Because people approve, get funded, and then. Why are they not here? It should not even happen. So that's another thing.
They program for you.
I asked some simple questions saying, are you saying we don't need it? Or are you saying we don't need it? But you're saying.
That's my attitude.
Very strong. Which I have. Good to meet you. Maybe we thought some of the doing.
Or modernization.
She literally said, Ivie, if you feel like it should be MS, then maybe it should be MS Mac. There are so many questions to
This is where you gotta network. You gotta meet with first.
She actually
right now, as I see, maybe I'm missing something here, but
She was pretty reasonable.
So yes, I will definitely. Okay,
And then you have, bigger than a red box kind of. I used to do that myself. When I found that I could quickly understand what the was saying, I would make something.
But I don't know on what basis who decided this is.
Developers love it.
Bottom line.
Requirements.
I don't think this.
It smells like.
For that to go the way to the. But they did us.
Development time.
We don't need to. My whole job is I feel very strong. I see this just flat out.
So they kept private window.
It means to be completely reverse, which is like.
So basically,
Solutions. I better have that template owning that conversation. So I look at this. I or somebody that is Friday and we can just make sure that we are not deviating from the program.
Like on my old team, like before I joined this, this is very much like micromanaging. Oh, you gotta do this, you gotta do that.
Lifers in there.
Not what is happening on the ground.
I'm just gonna do my thing as long as I'm showing value and they're scared because, you know.
No, but sorry, this is why I was very surprised. Sujay, you know this because this, when I was like, I had a very.
So that's what happened, that's what happened to us too, so.
I don't talk to him. So if you remember, I came back to the and I unfortunately have not just become Doro and asks again of the course. I think we need to take initial requirements for the solution. We need to discuss it together. I think the moment solution is part of.
I'm gonna miss this, join that. I have some respect for me.
Because they held, I mean, the last one when I said, what is your biggest issue?
Yeah, and I'm just sorry, unless I understand what it is, I'm gonna keep even in the context of this. You're an empty, understand though. Take away why I did this.
Yes.
How does
But at the all here,
solution visualization unilaterally without everyone being at the table?
Really?
So it's diagnosed.
So why is it Gaurav? Why is it not the product owner of the product?
Been there, like, 10 years. Because he said in their desk. They got bought by, so L'Oreal got bought by, or
Which is not the case.
didn't get bought,
I
exactly.
mean, for one product, you don't need that, right? For one product.
It's also then, no, sorry. You also got bought by Line. He's really just like moving it around under you. So I was walking for a while. Sell something that is better you had before. After about 2 years, Frank Long's managers. The real head of product. That's crazy. So at that time. It was also realizing that because Lockheed.
Two others. Yes, because it's unexpected.
Yes.
Of the universe.
Yeah.
Are these people understand?
Let me think of it. Let me take an example.
That like, oh,
If
these are
there is
product
a product coordination, I think understand that, and my view would by the way, that is why we have outcomes. If we need another solution architect, because of that. But let's keeping that aside. Let's say there is a interfering that needs to be built in HD.
On one of those big.
I look at this as it's one product.
I don't know if they.
Whoever is already a template or a PU of that should know whatever needs to happen. If whatever has happened does not contribute to the outcome, then the outcome of them taken. Currently, it's completely reversed. There's a bit of an ownership here that again, maybe the structure is creating confusion. Because if someone wants to build a visualization, I don't think anyone other than the visualization product owner should be owning that task.
We would sub to ourselves, so that's just a corporate.
Anyway, so this is why this is.
So they get something themselves. There's no way that.
Oh, yeah, why anything was on that email?
Plus another one.
Yes, I know. Yes.
Right, okay.
Right, so.
I mean, by the way, let's put it this way, I think we all would agree, which is why I'm highlighting, I'm not making this about, because this is. And the procedures that we have made around for the solution.
Beyond the prime, like, yeah, well.
No,
I'll say this carefully.
That was.
The mid-90s.
It didn't matter, they included because originally I think it was.
No, and by the way, I'm sorry, I'm gonna leave it at this again. I think we don't
change the market.
So that
So from and
because we need to,
and
maybe it's.
and that's why.
That's the, that's the shame.
Yeah, I know, how it's a shame.
Our solution architects, whoever is doing that,
Should be.
capable of doing it.
So.
Share that.
Oh,
yeah.
Efficiency could be smart.
Yeah.
Friction and resistance and coordination.
No, it's fine.
It should be only if it was, not by default.
Yeah.
But then, I don't think he cares, honestly, like, what are we gonna do?
And we all know which cases that's required, but right now we need to get, seem to be making a lot of.
But it's also like they can't buy.
Oh, I think they will. How do they get?
So tomorrow, I think Steve will coordinate, just Jen and if Emmanuel are available, 8:30 to 9:30 is the time. Well.
A lot of really
Yes.
senior
Or 12 to 1, but unfortunately, then you will get half an hour.
You don't have a lot of those guys anymore, I mean.
No.
I
There's
can.
some working.
Oh, and you're just like, I gotta get out of here.
Oh, yeah, that's.
Oh, yeah,
that's
you-
offset. I'm sorry.
So you don't have to figure that out.
No, it's good, it was good, you went under our Jason.
12 to 1, but now I think only 12 to 12.
It's something apparently the.
I'm just happy I'm still under John somehow. We were just checking there.
What by the way, what that means is I'm going to assume that we can skip 4.
Early
We can skip 4 and then.
And something about if you're walking across.
Well, because it's not a good one.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Like real,
yeah.
And also.
Andy,
That's fine.
There's a reason.
I think you're also reading.
You may not
Yeah,
understand.
they're not standing.
Yeah,
Before
well,
you go
that's
taking
the
that
back,
first
that's
step.
my
Hello,
morning,
That's a.
that's my morning.
And this is-
That's not my morning.
Right, this is the organizational knowledge.
That's where I am now, huh?
That's not the. Yeah. When fresh, you look at the
No, it's
system.
not, I know.
Why the hell is this designed this way? It's not a good thing.
Stop.
There are some really good reasons for that, you know, that comes. Again, with having to work with it.
We shall see. He's nice though, he's good, I like him.
They thought they were gonna sign.
The org way, yeah. Well, he has a dotted line in his sign.
No idea.
So that is another,
When I
plus.
started.
Yeah. Yeah, cause he's the head of
He's the head
DNA
of
for.
DNA in India,
Literally 4 people.
which is like,
Actually understood how.
honestly, I'm fine with it now. I'm
That's a
good.
different thing.
Data state
Fine with it,
intelligence
really
and
understand.
data modeling. Two things is what I'm doing right now.
Perfect vocabulary use case.
Yes. I have a lot of things to solve for.
Yes.
I'm happy.
Yeah, what is
I think
hard
he's
to
gonna,
do?
I think he as always takes a while and makes his mind.
Pretty good.
In his ideal world, he'll have everything and then decide, but now he has to decide. So now I think he's decided he's doing streaming or something. Yeah.
So when you told me, she told me.
He told you about streaming?
Yeah.
Hey, you guys talk a lot.
so-
What are you asking me for? You
No,
haven't been talking to me anymore. I don't hear the word me.
I'm asking you a opinion, like, I know that.
Oh, interesting. Okay, so you know more than I do.
There's a lot of issues there.
Yeah, literally,
Don't
yeah,
do
that's
that.
literally.
That'll confuse the hell out of me.
No, because it's like, what's my question? Like, they're not useful, but that complexity is actually there is a problem. And you can't just wait it away.
That's really
Right,
not
which is
bad.
that whole thing, that whole.
But I
You
can
have
run,
to make up
at least you know more. You can sit here.
I will find my bag over there.
Processing
Stuff
your
so that
procedures.
you have.
I think I wanna go.
Yeah.
And good luck to you. Let's
Oh, I think she will.
Process that supported that policy and complied with it. You're gonna find.
How much of all of this? I will say my minor.
Feel bad rushing.
Medicare.
Wait a minute, do we wanna speak?
Yeah, there's, my next one is you.
What
I'm
is
just gonna,
next?
yeah, I'm just gonna move this chair back, so I should have done it first.
Which one?
It's Data Services Hub that sits behind the
Oh, okay.
And so when you go and say, I want to buy health insurance.
Yeah.
How to model reality. That hub.
Reality.
Sounds
Sounds like a thing for you.
From data implies knowledge graph. Here's a tutorial.
No, I'm just hiding. Yeah, sure.
I meant.
So that we have space.
Oh, but it's in here.
I'm sure it's not.
Okay, we're good, we're good.
And I guess, you know.
Yeah, you're right.
Where you kind of use.
That's.
Remember the federal side,
You always like involved in this.
there are a bunch of states where there's
Where you kind of like dive into that now.
where there's some preliminary. You're probably
A lot of questions.
Yeah, no, it's more like just how to organize my thoughts, but, okay, so I've been in.
And then that happens, and you say yes, then there's a, we're gonna take your exploring this transfer your relational problems. that are accepted.
And master data management. Enterprise data. Briefly, Fresh Direct. There's still.
Yeah, it's not good.
Oh, not, yeah, like not.
Yeah, so I was like, oh, okay, I'm just gonna.
Graph, WWW, sort of like, it was in relational database, but sort of a linked property graph.
On that.
But a lot of the same, like, I think the idea was that like, it was the same kind of challenges generally that you try to solve, so like siloed stuff with different labels that all were, that didn't have canonical. Analytics could do like holistic, like, you know, how is Stone Cold Steve Austin doing? So, yeah, kind of general.
Favorite place, there's gonna be a spot or.
I've been mostly just trying to figure out
Of course. That's there you go.
There's pipelines that are active, and there's pipelines that are inactive, and so like the first thing that I managed to do was get like some parameters to approve. This is what we consider like a good BSR.
Okay.
Yeah, so like what would be considered like a confirmed alias.
That's exciting. That's exciting.
And then working with Jared and then to like.
Let us know tomorrow though.
To work
Like tomorrow, what does it?
July for,
Without breaking everything.
you know, reviewing aliases or, you know, turning them on and off, whatever. But also just setting up additional
Well, chat if you're
pipelines,
off. I don't know when the next session is.
areas that we find and what I'm trying to do now.
At least I don't know how you wait. I had you talking all the time.
I mean, it remains to be seen what it will look like, but basically a full integration. Silo.
Maybe we connect it another time. I'd love.
Generating functions. So
Brain on
ASCII, ASSD, so like
Small band,
ASML,
right? Because I'm dealing small.
ASLX.
How
They
to
have a lot
deal
of
with that.
homegrown aliases there that are pretty good quality, so we will. So yeah, just kind of figuring out like what the loads are, and then eventually like how we will.
I have to pick the ones where I have a reasonable shot at being able
At
to
the
get
scale that we're
some
talking about, probably.
revenue share, some
Review process, so we're talking also with like,
kind of
the.
ongoing support
Church
costs and all that.
Somewhere in the region.
Getting an integration feature store so that they could bring those in,
So really
have them
that's
available for training purposes, but then also maybe do a review pass. And then come up with some kind of a queue out of that, like, based on, these are the things that I.
Two of us.
That's fine, that's some things that we're proposing based on like user behaviors
Because
that we
Zoom
observed.
doesn't like it.
Yeah, but that's, I mean, that's. Process, but hopefully we can at least iterate on that, like, onboard it. Thing, like I had the first conversation with them. And we're gonna.
Yeah, no, I can, okay, yes.
Right, if this is a Zoom.
Yeah, Ryan,
Just
Ryan,
wonder,
every time I talk to Ryan, he's like, so do we have the aliases
So-
yet?
One person's presenting on the screen, the other person, and they're on the Zoom, and then
The goal.
we'll just kind of change the screen share on Zoom.
We have some of it
Hmm.
in namespaces now.
So you're saying connect to the Zoom specifically? Yes,
It sounds like
yes. You guys can
just
connect
to
to Zoom on each laptop.
Like,
DBSR.
kind of just screen share that, yeah. Is there a specific Zoom link that we use?
Yes, so if you go into Zoom,
Yeah, there's the information here, so you have someone joining you.
Like,
Yeah.
but we can't
Virtually, is that what?
No, so
we actually have to like swap machines. Anybody who's able to hook into the API, two different systems that we're gonna be able to share.
Got it.
So the cameras will both join in the Zoom share screen.
So, yeah, if you both join Zoom already,
Right now,
I'll make you both.
just means that it's originating from Tornado.
Are you on the Zoom?
Zoom right
So
here?
when we
No, on your laptop.
Yes,
I'll
I
bring
am.
them up. You are?
Yeah, like a logic. And my hope is that. Oh, that's. You know, Yeah, I was consistently high like, quality enough aren't you with that we can make more citizens and not. Because, yeah, otherwise I would have followed you. But then there are some smaller data sets like. 80. They've been able to really want to. There is a. Yeah, I was just skipping. But yeah, she's gone through like line by line and been like, this is good, this is it, this is like, but that's not very possible for most of the data.
There's also a lot of.
Yeah. I guess like, I'm trying to, I have like, look at this book. Like, project now. Like, either third parties. So it's this big geographic file with all this information on how much it is last data.
Okay, so.
How much that actually ended up. Most was that creating more. Like different varieties.
Yeah. Yeah, and I think.
We could, but I don't know if you want
Yeah, as you have to have the use case.
And so there were questions about like, can we bring it in, like.
So we're gonna be running the presentation here and then we're gonna flurry out.
You'll I'll run on as well. And then at some point when you're done, you stop sharing. I
Right, but you're gonna use your laptop.
No.
Kind of starting with.
I'll use my laptop.
But then we're gonna present it.
I know, to present on the live screen. So we can see like one laptop. It'll be
Oh, nice.
Whatever we share. We have two different. So yeah, he'll stop sharing and I'll share.
So much, like, no, you did not.
And now basically.
I was like, wait, hold on, we gotta start this.
So now you should be able
And then we'll also let Doug log in. Or if you're okay, Doug, I can share if you wanna, I can present this on the screen. You can use your laptop. I can use here. After we speak to Zoom, I'll get your laptop.
It's like the sliding setup as a.
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
See what happens.
I am paying Martha, so I'm highlighting my lines.
Move right away.
So first thing, can you log into your Zoom that and see
Oh, that's. I got confused for a second.
Oh, my God.
I think Vortex had a data version.
So we showed up.
Oh, God, yeah, no, that's terrible.
You know, and that is valuable.
No, but I think he's sharing proof.
I really don't know. Just to access this data.
Yeah, I'm in it, yeah.
Yeah, no, it
So
works
it
in the
did,
room.
somebody's house. Yeah, but my friend and I.
So it's only the second.
Theater, with a different director and so
One person's done, the other person moves on.
other actors. And so then, yeah.
So maybe we don't need the Zoom anymore.
My friend, he had this like cottage out where in the middle of nowhere, and she was like, this is their house. So then, and he wants to start like an arts collective out there, so they're like, this is like the first time in their house. Oh, okay. It's colors, but it's, yeah, a long.
yeah.
Does he need a mic as well for his?
Oh, gotcha.
Rehearsing.
So I will go ahead and
It's
share.
got a little time.
I share my screen on Zoom.
Sort of like, we don't have the space yet, so we're like.
So he can start, I could
sort of
stop sharing.
trying
Zoom.
to like switch there, but like, it's all.
Also another question, are you going to be taking questions throughout the session?
And also like.
Volunteer.
Test, test, test.
Like,
The
I still
virtual
have some of the
attendee
block,
questions.
like, I'm not
Should
back
she
my
just
version.
raise her hand if they have a question here for virtual attendee?
You don't have to share from your.
Okay, so I can.
It doesn't like. when we come-
So how do I, so when it's time to share my screen?
So I guess like I need another job.